Natasha Polite Creations. Welcome to today's video tutorial. I am going to be showing you water marbling. It is a simple technique. It doesn't require a lot of thought. The most you have to think about is what colors you will be using for the technique. I have some deluxe smooth white cardstock from Hero Arts, as well as liquid watercolors in various colors. And then I have this container here. This is just a stack and sort tray that I will be using to put my water into. First thing I'm going to do is add some water. And I'm just making sure I cover the bottom of the container. All right, so I'm using white deluxe smooth cardstock, but you can use whatever paper you like. I just like the look of regular paper being dipped versus watercolor paper, because ideally you would think to use watercolor paper. So this is what one example I've created using watercolor paper looks like, and it doesn't swirl enough for me. But when I used some hammer mill, this is how things turn out. So I am going to use this deluxe white cardstock because I think it might be the perfect weight for what I'm trying to achieve. So I would like my colors to be more so on the side of the panel versus all over the panel. So I'm going to add in some watercolor and try to keep the white water in between. You can get different looks if you add the watercolor at different angles. If you just squirt it out faster, it creates a different look as well. But I'm just dropping things in. You can also swirl to get more of the effect that you'd like as well with the end of a paintbrush or like a wooden stick or chopstick. But I'm just going to go with the flow and show you the basic way of doing this. I do want the colors on this side to mix a little bit more, so I'm just taking the end of my paintbrush and creating my swirl. I don't want to disrupt like the edge of the paint here because I don't want it to go to the middle. Also, if there are bubbles and you're able to pop them beforehand, try to do that because they will cause there to be empty spaces within your pattern. So I'm going to take the paper and I am going to set it where I think I'd like my design to be. And of course it goes sideways, but that's fine. And then I'm going to lift up and it catches the color so well. And I'm just going to set that over here for now. I'm not going to let this go to waste, so I'm going to dip some more. And I completely forgot to mention that the watercolors I am using are in Bright's Pink, Bright's Purple, Chartreuse, and White. You will get different looks with each dip. So I'm just going to try to get the whole page in here. So there we have that. And this is just using liquid watercolors, but look at this beautiful marbling. And it picked up so well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these out. And I'm going to hit them with my heat gun. Once my panels no longer look wet, although they are wet, I'm going to set them under something to keep them flat and let them finish drying. If you don't have time for that, you can always flip it over and heat. And then once it's dry, you can run it through your die cut machine to flatten it back out. But I'm just going to set these to the side. Okay, so for the sake of experimenting, I'm going to try reactive inks, and I have the colors Taffy, Lemon Drop, and Sea Salt. I'm going to see if I can get my water to spread out first. I am going to add these in and see how they marble. because they do give a more opaque color. They move beautifully on top of the water. But will they marble? Well, because I tried them before and they kind of just ran. So I'm just going to try on this paper and see what the outcome is. And they too marble. Okay, so this is how things look once dry. My marbling is subtle here, and this was, I think, my third like swipe into the water, and I love this marbling the most. This was my first, and this was the second. I love this too. You can always cut these down to use them however you'd like, or get the portion of the panel that you prefer. And this panel was created using the reactive reinkers. There wasn't as much marbling with this, but it does have the opaque colors. So if you are looking for a more effortless way of achieving that, and you have these watercolors or reactive inks on hand, then this is a method you can use. So I was able to create two panels from that one half sheet of cardstock, and then we have this panel as well. I want to use the February clear stamps and dies of the month, mainly the stamps. I don't want to die cut. Here is one of those panels. I love the faint marbling that is on here, and I am going to add some double-sided adhesive to the back so it kind of stays flat and holds its shape. So we have our panel flattened more. Now I'm going to grab my Misty and the clear stamps of the month for the month of February, and I am going to create a flower pot. And I'm also going to use this bloom where you are planted sentiment, as well as my Hero Hues Reactive Glitz inks. And I also need some tape for masking. So I'm just going to grab a small piece of mint tape. So one side of my panel has more marbling towards the top, and then the marbling down here is kind of spread out. So that is mainly where I want my sentiment to be. I'm going to stamp my basket first. Just make sure my flower will be where I want it. So I'm going to put my basket there, and I think it's in the middle. I plan to cut the panel down anyways, so it's okay if it's not. So I'm going to stamp this with the French pink. If you're using a marble panel like I am, please ensure that it is completely dry before you use any reactive ink, pigment ink, anything that will run because of the water. All right, next I'm going to just use my mint tape to mask. Then I'm going to add my plant inside. All right. And I'm doing this in French pink as well. A little darker. Right. So now we have our flower in the flower basket. Just going to clean this up and grab my sentiment. For my sentiment, I'm using the bloom where you are planted, and I am stamping that in the Naples yellow. I cut my marbled panel down to 3 3/4 by 5, and then popped that up on some foam, and I just added that panel onto an A2 size panel of azalea cardstock. To finish this off, I did go in with some clear enamel dots to add a little sparkle, and that is my completed project. I hope I have inspired you to pull out your liquid watercolors and try this marbling technique. You can find the watercolors and the stamps that I used in this video over in the Hero Art store, so head over and check it out. I am Natasha Polite Creations. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day.